What's up, guys? Welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we're studying 1 Kings chapter 10. Let's jump right in.
Okay, 1 Kings chapter 10. I love this chapter because it talks about how rich Solomon is. I mean, it sounds like he is crazy rich. He has so much gold. He has so much silver. He even has monkeys, which I thought was interesting. Like not only did he get spices and all, but it says he brought in monkeys. Isn't that cool? Mm-hmm. I wish I had a pet monkey. What about you?
That would be cool.
What would we name a pet monkey?
As long as it's not a chimpanzee.
What's wrong with chimpanzees?
They throw poop.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay, so let's talk about how important this chapter is. So in verse 1, it's talking about how really the nations are being drawn toward the worship of God because the nations have never seen a God who has taken care of and who has blessed people the way God is blessing Solomon and his people. So God's blessings were being revealed. Listen to what it says. Now, when the Queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord. So yes, she heard about how wise he was, but she also heard that this wisdom came from who?
God.
This wisdom came from God. This was a small taste of the kind of world Jesus is going to eventually create. This is a world that shocks the rest of the world. Now, it says that the Queen of Sheba, she comes from a place that's modern day called like Yemen. And so she's about 1,200 miles from Jerusalem. And what she figures out is like the Queen of Sheba is really, really rich. But when she sees the riches of Solomon, this is far bigger than anything else she ever determined. Matter of fact, in verse number 10, it says, then she gave the king 120 talents of gold. That's 4.5 tons of gold. But listen, it was nothing compared to what he was able to give her. And so there's a lot going on in this passage, and there's a lot that's there's a lot showing that God is blessing his people. As a matter of fact, way back in the beginning of this book, in 1 Kings chapter number 3, verse 13, God made Solomon a promise. He said this. He said, and I have also given you what you have not asked for. He says, I have given you riches and honor, and there shall be no one like you among the kings all of your days. This is a moment where God is keeping his promise. Now, I've got something else, but Jill, what was your big takeaway from this?
My takeaway is how she was like to Solomon, God chose you to be king because he trusted you and loved you. And so what I think that means is that God loves you no matter what.
God does love you no matter what. And if God chose Solomon because he trusted him and because he had wisdom, does that mean that God just sees the outside of us, or does God know the inside of who we are?
The inside.
The inside. That's right. God knows everything. He knows where we're strong. He knows where we're weak. He knows where we're good. He knows where we're bad. And God puts all of this into consideration when God makes his plans. Now, I want to just kind of bring up a couple of things here because they're creeping in, and I want us to make sure we notice. So, the commercial work that Solomon's done, all of his businesses, let's call this a commercial or financial network. Solomon is creating an economy. This economy is national, and it's bringing influential and powerful and rich visitors to Jerusalem, and everybody is shocked at this wealth. But you got to wonder on the outside, does all of this wealth make them draw closer to God? Just because they're rich doesn't mean they're walking with God. And here's the scary answer. The scary answer is it doesn't look like it does. As a matter of fact, what we're seeing is that there is a creeping kind of pride into the nation. Verse 26 says, and Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen and had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen who he stationed in the chariot cities with the king and at Jerusalem. So this creeping pride made them start ignoring some of the commands of God. Along with like verse 28 where it says, and Solomon got horses from Egypt. All of this is in direct opposition. This is wrong according to Deuteronomy 17, where they weren't supposed to love their riches, nor were they supposed to go to Egypt, particularly for horses. This was Solomon beginning to put his trust in things like chariots and horses instead of in the Lord. And what's interesting to me is it sounds like that Solomon is starting to forget even the words of his own daddy. Because in the book of Psalms, David wrote a psalm, Psalm chapter number 20, and in that psalm, David said this. I'm turning there, let me find it real quick. In Psalm chapter 20, verse number 7, it says this: some trust in chariots and some in horses. That's physical strength. But we will trust in the name of the Lord our God. So here's what you got to balance this with. Solomon is being wonderfully blessed by the Lord, but in the middle of all those blessings, it seems that Solomon is starting to not trust and focus on God as much. And so we got to be careful when we read this. When it's good, it's really good. But underneath, is their heart still where it needs to be? And the answer seems to be no. That there's a tiny drift away from the things of God. So this week as you read, I want you to notice this. Is there any tiny drift in your heart away from the things of God? And if there are, let's fix it, okay? Let's use Solomon as our warning. We'll see you next time in 1 Kings chapter number 11. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.